Hey guys, I'm going to be doing a video today on sidechaining with Fruity Peak Controller and Fruity Balance. Now, if you don't know what sidechain is, I suggest you Google that and try to figure out what that is. But I use this kit to actually make a full entire track, which I will be releasing soon. But I wanted to show you guys. Let me just delete some stuff here that I don't need. Wanted to show you guys basically what sidechaining is and how to use it in your productions, because I think this sidechaining method is actually pretty cool. So I'll keep it pretty simple here and I'll show you an example. There you go. Okay, so the first 8 bars of this are not sidechained. There is a filter cutoff on a synth, this one. If we solo this, we can see what it sounds like. Anyway. So there's a cutoff on that, and if you want to see what that does, basically it you can see the cutoff rising. Okay, so anyway, that's just to give you a feel for what's going on with the sound right now. So the sidechain works by basically this sidechain. If we go to what the sidechain is, we have these things here. So if the reason we can't hear anything is because it's muted. So I'm actually hitting my keyboard. So it's a kick, but we're going to mute this kick. We're going to put in a kick, and then since this is going to be a 4 to the floor, which is every quarter note, if we look what's going on here, so we can delete these. We're going to be putting a quarter note or every like beginning of the beat. Just gonna go back. See how there's a difference? See, there's a kick in here that I don't want the kick to play. I don't want the kick to play. So anyway, let me just kind of break this down for you. Basically what we're going to be doing is, in order to sidechain, we got to start somewhere. So first step is you can make something, make a pattern and call it sidechain, and just use a kick. Now again, just use any like kick sample or whatever you want, and for your sidechain, just go into the piano roll and make some notes here. They don't have to be this small. These represent just a note, and you can see that that doesn't make a difference if I go back in here. So, and if you notice, when we play the sidechain pattern, nothing plays. And I'll actually just copy this just to show you. Copy it. Control-C, Control-V over here. Anyway, because I'm going to be sidechaining the synths and the basses. So basically what we have going on here, the side bass again is just load in a kick into a pattern, into basically a sampler. You start with a sampler, empty sampler, you drag in a kick, you add these, assuming you're doing 4 to the 4, wherever you want it to sidechain. So let's start with the bass. So we go into this, we can see that we've got a couple basses here. I'm going to basically get rid of these sounds, and I'll show you what that sounds like. So these sounds are being sidechained, but if you look right here, since there's no sidechain, you can hear the difference. Basically what's going on is the volume is kind of dipping every time we triggered the sidechain, which is one of these notes. That's why we put in the notes. Okay, so to do this, you need to have a sound, obviously, and then what we're going to do is I put this to track 2. Let's just call it bass. These are just EQs to take out some stuff. First thing we want to do is set up the sidechain. So the sidechain that we made earlier for this is going to mixer track 7. And so what we put on here is what we call a fruity peak controller. That's, if you go into here and select fruity peak controller, should have it somewhere. So the parameters here, now we want this to mute. We do not want, again, we don't want this to going on. See how we don't want the actual sound to be triggered. So we put this on mute. You can do this in a variety of ways. You can have it unmuted and play, but the thing is, for this kind of scenario that I'm showing right now, you just keep it muted. Now these are the things you're going to want to play with. This is, you can mess with this one. This one isn't as important, I think, as these three, the bass, volume, and tension. So let's just leave it as is right now, and then go back to our bass channel, and what we need to do is open up Fruity Balance. What you're going to want to do here is right click, go to link to controller. This probably isn't going to be check marked. You're going to want to go to this internal controller, go to peak control, peak, and this is for the bass sidechain. So that's the one that we're going to, remember I also have a synth sidechain, but I'm not going to go into that right yet. And these are automation clips, but anyway, just hit peak control, peak. With the mapping formula, you need to change it to inverted. Make sure this is not on. Make sure that's not orange. So you want to turn this off because it can mess up your sidechain. Basically, it'll remove sidechains because it'll only have like one if you have multiple peak control or balances. So hit accept. So now, just to show you what's going on, if we have our sidechain enabled for the bass. If we go back to the kit, we can see that only the bass, this bass is going to be playing, and check it out. So this is what's happening. If you notice, if I go back to here, once that sidechain hits, this is happening. So lots of things can control basically what's going on here. If you notice, this is already down here, and we've set this, this has been set already. You can have it all the way up or what have you, but the point is you need to adjust the volume to your own settings, to what you want. So the volume's here, and if we notice, the bass is look what happens to the sound if we mess with the bass for right now. So we haven't messed with it. Watch what happens if I remember how. I'll show you. volume is all the way up, and you see how it's dipping every time a sidechain is triggered. If I mess with the base, turn it up to say 20%, which is a common amount, because if you have your mixer tracked by default, that's basically like 20%, I believe. So look what happens. The sidechain is now, well, it's basically a lot. The volume overall of the base is now shortened because look where the volume is starting from. Everything is the same except you see how this is affecting the volume because we already have what the volume that we want. Again, there's so many different ways to do this. Like you could set the peak base to 20% and then adjust. But this has already been adjusted. So anyway, this is also important. If you notice what happens here. So here's like no sidechain. Even though the sidechain's on, we can tell. Then watch what happens as I increase the volume. So that'll increase the sidechain. It was around 70%. Now tension is another way to increase the sidechain. So why don't we slam the sidechain and then take off the tension? You can see it in this drawing right here. When the tension was all the way up, the sidechain kind of looked like this. Now it was more angular when it's more down, but a good combination. I can't tell you exactly what the tension is doing. I mean, you can just look at it in the manual, but we're going to turn it up a little bit. And I really like, it depends what you're going for here. I mean, if you really want a really tough sidechain, again, make sure your volume's right. Make sure because this is really simple. I just have the bass playing. I don't have anything else. There's not like a lot of sounds going on here, but if you really want to make a really big sidechain, just turn the volume all the way up, I guess. I'll unmute this. You can see what's going, or unpause it. That's what left clicking here pauses this. So that's a really, really tough sidechain, or extreme. Probably don't want that, so something a little bit more appropriate. Something like that. But it's up to you. So again, rewind if you need to figure out how to do this, but basically you need two things. You have to set up a sidechain, dedicated sidechain mixer channel, which is what this is, and mixer track 7. And remember, to get that, you got to go to say make a sidechain, make a pattern in here, call it sidechain. Use the sampler, drag in like a sound like a kick. And also this, I want to make note that watch what happens here. If I mess with this, it will also mess with the sidechain. So what that is doing, it's essentially, let's open up Fruity Balance and see if we can see what this is doing. See how it's basically, these are all kind of intertwined, and I know it's kind of confusing, but see how this is going way back? This is starting here and then dipping a lot. If you take back the volume, it's the similar to when I was in here messing with the bass, but it's a little bit different because I'm just basically moving where the volume starts. But when I do this, it's basically no side. It basically just gets rid of the sidechain because you can see it's hardly moving. So anyway, obviously you want some movement here. I mean, regardless of where this you don't have to start it right here. Again, you can have it set right here, but it all depends on the actual sound that you're side chaining, which is the bass in this example. And my bass has already been decreased in volume, so that's why it's, you know, appropriate kind of to have this all the way, to have the bass all the way to nothing, to not have this like that, you know. Because anyway, I hope that makes sense. Now I'll briefly show you also. So there's another bass, but it's basically the same thing. When in this, it's just the sub. The sub is routed to the same thing. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that, but you can, and it's the same principles apply. I mean, it's also this same track. Like if you notice in the mixer, the bass sub and the bass tick to the same. So it's also doing the same movement. But if you wanted a new one, just you know what, just take it to a new track, do the exact same thing. Remember to basically, the biggest thing that's going on here is you are setting up whatever sound you want to be sidechained, making a fruity balance in that mixer track that you want to be sidechained, and you are right clicking and linking to controller and going to the peak and then inverting it. And you can look up other kinds of things, but just basically invert, go to the peak of the one that you want, which in this case is the bass sidechain. See with that name right here. Hit accept, and you got your sidechain going. And this is, again, one of many ways to sidechain in FL Studio and just in general. There's you know, ways you can sidechain Ableton that are the same as an FL or any other DAW, if you know, drag in like Kickstart, for example. But anyway, so these basses together sound like this. So now I'll take off the basses and show you some of these chords. If we notice all of these chords, now these layer chords, if we show the children here, they're just these two. So we got this and so these sound like this. Actually, that's not going to play because these actually need to be. See how it started sidechaining when I turn this on? Because again, I set up a sampler and put in a sound, and then adjusted the volume a little bit and made the basically everywhere I wanted the volume to drop. I just made a little. This is a 16th note little thingy, but it'll just do that at the beginning of wherever you want to sidechain. So anyway. So if we just go back to here, I'll show you again, just to reiterate. I know this video is very long, but like a lot of the sidechain videos just aren't very detailed, and learning it right the first time, or just how to do it, is very important. So anyway, let's mute these basses. I'll even mute the sidechain for it. It's nice, right? So all of these are to mixer track 5, all the pads, blah blah blah. I wouldn't recommend doing everything into one, but just for illustration purposes, that's how it is. And so if we go here, what do you know? We have some EQing here, but that's neither here nor there. This is just some EQing as well. But if we go to the fruity balance, look what's going on. Now, this was, if you right-clicked, we went to peak, synth sidechain, we set up another mixer track for this, and inverted it, hit accept. And don't worry that this is peaking, this is going into the red. It's really not an issue. Just don't worry about it right now. So if we see what's going on here, this is muted again, and we have some volume going on. We have some tension, a little. For the default for the decay is like this. Just messed with that a little bit. Again, we have the volume down here, so we just have it set up to where, oh, I don't really need to increase the bass. The bass is going to take off volume from wherever you have. So that's why it's taking, like, it's at 0%. It's not taking any volume. Watch what happens. It's taking 29% of my volume. Took all my volume. So I think you see what's going on. I just really want to reiterate this and hammer it home. Hopefully you really understand what's going on here. So that's basically sidechaining with the peak controller and fruity balance. Now, there's so many ways to sidechain. This is just, I know it's been a very long video. It's over 20 minutes, but I hope that this actually helps. This is kind of an in-depth kind of look at sidechaining because with peak controller and fruity balance. And so, yeah, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know, and I'll see you later. Peace.